So are we supposed to start the podcast?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome, America.
Caw.
What is it? The blue wing talk. Blue wing talk.
Blue wing talk.
Yes, the blue wing talk. Pumps, what have you had it with?
Okay, what I've had it with is high expectations. I've decided, the saying, the cliche is comparison is the thief of joy. I think high expectations are the thief of joy. And I look back at my life, and anybody I had really high expectations for, disappointed, 10 out of 10. So I'm going to start my New Year's resolution right now, before the new year. And it's going to be expect the worst from all people in every situation, always. So I can't be disappointed. So I'm done with high expectations. It will soften my disappointment in the human race. And I really think I'm going to be good at it because I borderline am super cynical. That's just the next step I need to take it over to a complete cynical bitch. So I'm close. So this is a goal I think I can absolutely handle.
You know what mystifies me so much about this?
What?
Is that you just now figured this out.
Jennifer, I'm slow to the party in a lot of things. You would have thought after my marriage.
That's what I'm thinking.
High expectations would have been a thing of the past.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't even be something that I even considered ever.
Yeah.
But during COVID, I watched Hallmark movies because I wanted a happy ending. Something is wrong with me. I'm the problem.
I stopped having expectations a long, long time ago. And it's completely liberating. It's just, I just assume when I start the day that nobody is going to exceed my expectations. The only person who ever did was Javi, who used to work for us. I mean, he exceeded expectations. He was like a smartphone. He was intuitive. He figured out what needed to be done.
He absolutely did. You say exceed expectations. I'm taking it another notch. Whatever my expectations are, they're not even going to be met.
Well,
they're going to be so low.
That's what that's where I've been for quite some time.
So you're saying start at the bottom of the barrel.
After the rehab stints that Josh went through, 5 listener, I just removed expectations and I realized this is the way to go, to just have zero expectations because human beings are breathtakingly disappointing.
Yeah,
they will disappoint you
every time.
Just look at the most recent election results, the most disappointing group of human beings on the planet. They saw the same shit that we saw, and then they went and voted for it.
Triple down.
Breathtaking.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my new thing. We'll see if I can do it. It's going to be my end of year resolution instead of my New Year resolution.
I like it. All right, let me tell you what I've had it with. I've had it with people that don't know how to spell chick. Like, hey, chick, what's going on? You're a cool chick. Because I see this often on the internet and people have confused it and they spell it C-H-I-C,
chic,
which is chic.
Right.
And I see it all the time. And I'm like, you're saying, hey, chic girl. And I mean, and they're, hey, thanks, chick. You're a hot chick. And they're saying you're a hot chic. And I just want to go in and just put a little asterisk and spell it for them correctly. But this has been going on for a long time, the misspelling of chick.
Yes, it has. But I was going to say, do you think it is related to Chick-fil-A?
Do I think what is related to Chick-fil-A?
The misspelling of chick, because isn't Chick-fil-A C-H-I-C? Because every time I spell it, like when I'm like, if I'm texting my kids, what do you want from Chick-fil-A? I always have to, it always autocorrects me.
All right, listen, first and foremost, Gatriots, pumps, you cannot eat hate chicken. Number 2, it is spelled C-H-I-C-K.
Is it?
Short for chicken.
Okay, well.
It's a popular Mandela effect that people think it's spelled differently than C-H-I-C-K. But you're correct.
It's C-H-I-C-K, short for chicken.
Okay,
Chick-fil-A.
see, I'm wrong this whole time. Another disappointment. I have not even met my own expectations. And I've fallen under your expectations that I would know how to spell chick as in Chick-fil-A. because I always thought it was CHIC.
I am so sorry, Gatriots, that you have to hear this hate speech regarding hate chicken on this LGBTQIA plus friendly conversation podcast in Trump's America. I apologize for Meemaw. I apologize for it all.
She's old.
She's old, but I don't think she's a homophobe.
No, and I haven't eaten hate chicken in a long time.
Welcome to I've Had It. I'm Jennifer.
I'm Angie. Meemaw meat curtains / not eating at hate chicken, just for the record.
Kylie, what do you have going on today?
I've been digging into some of our reviews,
Excellent.
and I've got a 1-star review.
Oh, good.
It's titled Silly. And No Thanks 19 writes, privileged women who think they're smarter than you and need to save you.
Okay. First of all, I am going to argue that we might be smarter than you because we're not on podcast reviews trolling people. Okay. I'm just going to say that right out of the gate.
It's a possibility for sure.
I'm not over on like Jesse Waters giving him reviews. So I'm going to say we are smarter. What was the second part?
That they think they need to save you.
Okay. I'm going to push back on that too, because if we could save people, we would have Madame
right.
President right now. Okay. So we failed.
We failed miserably.
We can't save anybody. You're on your own. You're fucked, listener.
Right. We can't even save ourselves.
Okay, we'll end it on a 5-star, and it's titled, I Give You All My Stars. And Dolan writes, Gold star gay here, and I love this podcast. I almost dreaded listening to this podcast the day after the election, after being extremely disappointed and worried for the safety of me and my husband and our son's future in the Bible Belt in Trump's America. But this podcast truly is a shining light for me. Blue heart.
Oh, that makes me happy.
Sounded a little bit saved. I'm sorry. Just juxtaposing that with the other 1-star reviewer. Sounds like had a terrible day and the day was saved. That's all I'm saying. Sounds like we met expectations.
That is a case where expectations were met.
Yeah.
And in fact, saved the day.
I'm just saying that looks like some anecdotal evidence to the contrary of the 1-star reviewer.
Right. And you know what my favorite thing is? The gold star gay. I love that term.
Yes, it's fantastic. Okay, now I'd like to review some things from the news. This is something that I think is probably one of the smartest things I've ever read. And I think that they might have gotten inspiration from us since we're going down a narcissistic wind tunnel today in Trump's America. American Airlines is testing boarding technology that audibly shames people who cut the line. The technology alerts gate agents with an audible sound for everyone to hear if a passenger tries to scan a ticket ahead of their assigned group. And what I have to say to you, American Airlines, is you deserve a profile in courage.
Yes. I mean, where has this been for the last 20 years? This is so necessary. It's so needed. And I believe the only way to stop just lawlessness with boarding groups is shaming him. I'm for it.
I think American Airlines is going to be a trailblazer.
Yes.
In airport management and airport behavior correction initiatives. And I think that these are things that need to be implemented worldwide, not just nationwide, but worldwide.
Okay, here's what I was thinking. How about I'm the voice on the American Airlines thing? So if you board wrong, if you try to skirt the system and you're in group 8 and you're trying to go in group 2, I would love to volunteer my voice to say, it's not your boarding group, sit your ass down. What do you think about that?
Very selfless.
Thank you.
Very selfless. I like it. All right. The next story is, this is hilarious. A pizzeria was raided by police after being tipped off that the restaurant was selling cocaine as a side item. Customers were served the drug when ordering item number 40 on the menu. It is reported that it was one of their biggest selling pizzas.
So I'll just have a number 40.
Yeah, so you got a little pizza and a little 8-ball.
Well,
yeah.
I wonder how long that went on.
I don't know, but I mean, I wonder if Don Jr. is their top customer.
Okay, Okay, here's what I
Do
wonder.
you think we're going to get thrown in jail for saying that in Trump's America?
Can't rule it out.
I know.
So I wonder, like, obviously they made a fortune, right?
I don't know what their profit loss is. I would say in general, unless you're like the drug cartel,
Right.
if you're, schlepping this with pizza, I'm sure they did okay.
Yeah.
I would imagine the lawless nature of this probably means that they might not be good money managers. So I would imagine they probably did well, but I don't know if it was managed well. Okay. All right. Next up, we have a guest. And we are so excited to have him on. You may know him from Billy on the Street. Billy Eichner. He is an Emmy-nominated actor, comedian, writer, and producer. Let's welcome to I've Had It, Billy Eichner. Listener, this may come as a total shock to you, but Pumps and I have not always been this pulled together and rock solid. In fact, we used to be rather screwed up, wouldn't you say, Pumps?
I would say damn near psychotic.
Totally. And we have written a cell phone expose. One could even say it's a manifesto. And the book title is
Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches.
In all sincerity, we share a lot of our struggles that led us to this grand stage where we can talk about petty grievances. You can click the link below in the show notes to pre-order your copy now. Pumps, when the seasons change, I like to change my bedding, but sometimes it can be cost prohibitive. And that's why I am so happy that it is officially cozy season and everybody can afford it with Quince.
What I love about Quince is you get the highest quality for so much less money. And the organic cotton and linen sheets are so cozy.
They really give you that 5-star hotel feel. And that goes for their plush duvets, quilts, pillows, and shams too. Quince has everything you need to level up your bed. And the best part, like Quince's clothing, their bedding is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. That's because Quince cuts the cost of the middleman. They partner directly with top companies, and the saving gets passed right along to us. Listener, turn up the luxury when you turn in with Quince. Go to quince.com/IHI to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's QUINCE.com/IHI for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/IHI. All right, let's welcome to I've Had It, Billy Eichner. Billy, what the fuck happened? Last thing I saw on the internet, you and Will Ferrell were in the streets trying to do some stuff, and I don't know if it helped or hurt. What do you have to say about this?
It's your fault, Billy.
I'm not taking the blame, okay? Will Ferrell and I went out, we brought back Billy on the Street, which I haven't done a new one in a few years. And we had a great time. The reason we did that is because I'm a gay man, obviously, but Will is very much not. And we just wanted to show people that there were still decent men out there and decent white men out there who were very loudly and proudly supporting the more intelligent, competent, decent, empathetic, compassionate, qualified candidate who was, of course, Kamala Harris. And we were just, I was doing my best, trying to galvanize people. And it kind of gave me a false sense of hope because people got really excited about that video.
Yeah.
I mean, it got like, I don't know, it's like 20 million views or something. And Billy on the Street's always been very popular, I'm happy to say. But I don't know, people really reacted in a very positive way when that came out. And people were actually sending me messages, even friends of mine who, they're very much over me and Billy on the Street after all these years. But, the last thing they want to hear about is my success and popularity. But all of my jealous friends. But I'm just kidding. But they were texting me, especially the women in my life. And I'm a gay man. I have a lot of girlfriends I'm very close to. They were saying, oh my God, like this gave me hope. This allowed me to feel a little bit of joy and excitement and not just the panic that they were feeling. And rightfully so, to
Yeah.
feel that panic. And so in a weird way, it gave me a false sense of hope right before the election, but I'm proud of it.
I think I had a lot of hope going in, but I also had the reality of 2016. Plus, I went and deep dived on you before the election because I started watching the collab with you and Will Ferrell, and I heard you say in one of your videos to the camera, I've been out on the street and I'm not liking what I'm hearing. And there
Right.
was this underbelly of Trumpism that had kind of emerged during the Biden presidency that I think we all were kind of in touch with, but it's too much to take your brain there to think that tens of millions of people are seeing what we're seeing and they're going to go triple down. They're tripling
Yes.
down on that motherfucker. And it's painful as a fellow human being to face that reality that people are able to do that.
Yes, that's the reality. And, I remember going out in 2016, the summer before the election, when it was Hillary versus Trump, and shooting a similar type of video, or trying to shoot a similar type of video. And this is 2016. So at this point, it's completely unfathomable to any rational person that Donald Trump could actually win the election. And we're still in that headspace, which if you were in that headspace in 2024, then you're kind of delusional, right?
Right.
You had to know the polls. It was always very close. He was up in the polls, even towards the end, depending on which poll you're looking at. So I don't know, people who say they were as shocked this time, that to me is a little confusing. But when we went out to the streets of New York City, by the way, and we shoot in Chelsea downtown, which is a very diverse area. Even in 2016, a few months before the election, most people were pro-Hillary, but there were a surprising amount of people saying they were going to vote for Trump, or that they simply couldn't vote for Hillary. And there is just an enormous amount of misogyny in this country.
Yeah.
Sadly, even among women. And we're seeing that play out again and again. And I'm not saying that's the full explanation for Trump winning, because it's not. It's complicated. 70 million plus people aren't all voting for the same reason. But we have to acknowledge it. It's not just a Hillary Clinton issue. And that's something that's just becoming more and more evident. But yeah, even in 2016 on the streets of New York, there were a couple more Trump supporters than I thought there would be, to be honest.
It's so depressing. Okay,
Yeah.
but we have to get onto our brand. We're kind of talking about what we've had it with, but just right out of the gates, on the top of your head, what have you had it with today?
One thing I will say about the election, and we can also talk about other things, obviously, but this feeling now I'm hearing even among Democrats and liberals that it's either we care about the working class or we care about civil rights for vulnerable people in our country. We cannot be convinced that it's one or the other. We can and must do both of those things. I agree. Clearly, we've lost the thread a little bit in terms of how to communicate our ideas to working class people. That is clearly true, but that doesn't mean we can throw trans people and LGBTQ people and women of color under the bus, because both of those things can and must coexist. They are not mutually exclusive. Caring about the economic needs of people and protecting trans people. Guess what? Trans people want eggs to be cheaper too. Okay, we're all living in this economy. So I've had it with thinking it's one or the other, and it's either has to be one or the other in order to win a national election. That hasn't been true in the past. And, yes, you have to frame everything correctly and thread that needle correctly and communicate things correctly. But from an emotional standpoint, it is our job to protect the most vulnerable people in this country, and that cannot change.
I think these things are connected. I don't think we can separate them. Working class people have gay kids. It's not like gay people are just born from billionaires. Working class people are Black. Working class people that live in red states that thought they were Republican and evangelical Christians give birth to trans children. And then their preachers start bullying them. And now their government starts bullying them. These things are connected. Also, I think it's safe to say when we see such an income disparity growing in this country, the working class is marginalized. So all of these rights are linked together because we have marginalized the working class. We cannot separate them. And when Democrats run to the center, we lose. We need to stay and make the moral case for being progressive and fighting for marginalized people. And the working class has been marginalized by the Republican Party and lied to election after election by the Republicans. They have marginalized them. They are our people. We fight for them. We're the ones who fight for the minimum wage to be raised, unions. And guess what? All these gay people running around, the LGBT, the alphabet mafia, as the right wing likes to call them, I guarantee you, just from a statistical standpoint, and I'm no mathematician, the majority of them were born from working class parents.
Yes, absolutely. I was born to middle class parents. I wasn't born rich. My family has nothing to do with entertainment. I mean, I worked my way up and I'm very lucky. But I wasn't always this way. So I remember my father like constantly worried about money and paying the bills and yelling at me that I was spending too much money. All of these things are still very present in my head. And you're absolutely right. It's all linked. The thing that we need to do is, and I thought Kamala ran a great campaign under nearly impossible circumstances. And I am happy to see that more or less people are agreed on that, even though she lost. But, we have to find the right communicator. That's it. So much of this is about being able to sound authentic and really hit people in a visceral place. That's what Bill Clinton was able to do in the 90s. That's what Obama was able to do in 2008. So much of it is it's not just about being on the right side of history, unfortunately. It's not just about being the most intelligent, competent, qualified person. It is about knowing how to viscerally connect with people. Performance is part of the game, for better or worse. It just is, right? And so whoever that person's going to be next time, they need to feel new, they need to feel fresh, and they need to be able to communicate in a way that doesn't feel like the messaging has been crafted in the halls of some, lobbyist's office somewhere. It needs to feel raw and real and passionate and authentic. That's what we need. That's why Trump, as demented as he is, connects with his people, right? I'm not saying anything we don't know.
Right.
But it's worth reiterating, having had such a crushing defeat.
No, and for the last 10 years, every time he's up on a ballot, he wins, and he wins resoundingly, and he has built a base. But we can talk around it or we can go right at it. This is the white supremacist Klingon and the patriarchal Klingon, because now you see women with their own podcasts and microphones and CEOs and, fashion designers, business leaders, prime ministers of other countries. You see successful gay comedians on the street. They see these things, and it's very threatening to that world order. And James Carville famously said when he campaigned for Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. And I think for all of us, it is the racism, stupid. That's what it is. You have to like that level of recreational cruelty to hear what he said about human beings and calling them animals and saying they're vermin. You have to like that in order to vote for it, because for us on this podcast right now, that is a deal breaker. That is a moral, we're not crossing over that. We see them as human beings. Should there be rules for the border and for immigration and all of those things? Nobody's arguing that. But to call them animals and wanting to separate toddlers from their parents is just a line I'm not willing to cross. So you have to like that. There is an appetite for this recreational cruelty in this country, and it is a cancer. And what shocks the shit out of me the most, actually, it doesn't shock me. We live in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and it's all of these evangelical Christians that like the recreational cruelty the most. They like it the most, and they vote for him in the strongest numbers, and it fucking pisses me off.
I hear you, and I didn't have to grow up around it. I grew up in New York City. I'm a native New Yorker, and that gave me a very kind of skewed perception of the world. I had the opposite experience that most people have. A lot of artists grow up in a small town and then run off to the city to find their people. and experience the world, and I had the opposite, where I grew up in New York City with very liberal parents, and it was pretty clear from the time. I mean, I didn't come out until I was 20, because this was before the days of Drag Race and Heartstopper, and we still stayed in the closet. We weren't coming out at 12 years old, but it was still pretty evident to my parents that I was a gay kid, begging them to take me to see Barbra Streisand concerts when I was literally 13 years old. And bless them, they did, like they were so supportive. So I just assumed every place was like New York City, and then I got out into the world and realized, like, oh, I wasn't in the real world. I was maybe in an ideal world, at least one that I think of as an ideal world, but I wasn't in the world most people occupy. So it's always a wake-up call to me. I'm like, wow, this is still happening. We're still here. It's kind of shocking, and yet we're here, But the one hopeful thing I'll say is the pendulum swings back and forth. No one thought, when George Bush was running, when George Bush beat John Kerry in 2004, no one thought the person to come and save the Democratic Party would be a young Black man from Chicago politics, right? It was, and no one. And on the flip side, if you had asked Republicans in 2012 when Obama beat Romney, if Donald Trump was the person who was going to come along and save their party, they would have been shocked too. Full disclosure, I'm quoting Ezra Klein here. I'm not that smart. But it's true. And I'm only quoting it because it gives you a little bit of hope in what feels like a hopeless time. I'm not the biggest Joe Rogan fan, but there was a time when Joe Rogan supported Bernie Sanders not too long. And that's why. Why did he support Bernie Sanders? Why did we have all those Bernie bros? And you could be annoyed at the Bernie bros, but they were there, and I'd rather have Bernie bros than Trump bros any day of the week. And you know why? It's because, say what you will, Bernie speaks in a very unfiltered, raw, authentic way that touches people viscerally, the way that Trump does. And I'm not saying Bernie's the answer to all of our questions, and I don't think it's Bernie himself. I think his time is, probably past us in terms of being president, but I think there are lessons to be drawn there, and just in terms of being a communicator, and speaking. Again, it's about being visceral.
I think Bernie does what we were talking about earlier. He connects the working class with civil rights issues. He connects 100%. Them all together. And that's what we have to do as progressives. We have to take the moral case to rural America, to suburban America, and say, we morally feel like we need to help sick people and we need to help lift up people out of poverty. And it's my understanding that your Lord and personal Savior, Jesus Christ, wants to do that. Now, I'm not a religious person, even though I'm trapped here in the Bible Belt, but I have found that the most religious people that I know are the most cruel and most anti-Jesus than anybody that lives around me. And the louder they are about it, the meaner they are. There is just this inherent cruelty to it. And I think if we can make the case and use their religion and say, your Lord and personal Savior has taught you that you need to help the poor, not be judgmental, not value capitalism over human beings. And that's the problem too. And that's a good moral case that Bernie Sanders took to everybody. He said, I value human beings over profit. The Republican Party values profit over human beings. And at the end of the day, what's going to KO America is going to be that we value individualism and not collectivism. And so we've got to start making this case podcast by podcast. But you brought up Joe Rogan, and I've been thinking a lot about him. And, it's amazing to me how quickly kind of semi-enlightened men that had some gay friends that were fine with their, women, doing whatever they want to do, have been so radicalized back into misogyny. The regressive misogyny is one note that's come out of this election that I haven't heard anybody talk about. But as two female podcasters, we get, thrown into the manosphere form of Twitter. It is vile. And the regressive misogyny that I'm feeling right now is terrifying.
It is. It's really scary. And again, the women in my life talk about this all the time. I have one of my dear friends since college, my friend Diane, who lives in Jersey, right outside of New York City, has 3 daughters under the age of 13, but is close enough to Pennsylvania where she went and canvassed not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times between September and October before the election. So we can't blame Diane for losing Pennsylvania. And so, but she was knocking on doors in suburban areas and more rural areas. And she said to me, back in early October or September, she said, the women seem hopeful about Kamala winning. They're easier to talk to. She said, Billy, the young men are not okay. They are not okay. And it is scary. I know a woman I went to high school with back in New York City many, many years ago who now has a teenage son. This woman is the epitome of liberal New York Jewish, Brooklyn, raising a teenage boy who's been raised in New York City. And even she said to a mutual friend of ours recently, she said, I don't understand. He's coming home and saying some weird shit, some weird kind of alt-right stuff. It's not exactly pro-Trump. He's not going that far, but it's strange. And he was like, well, he didn't grow up hearing this stuff in my liberal Brooklyn apartment, or growing up going to high school in New York City. He's getting it from social media and he's getting it from these podcasts, and so, the young men are not okay. And I don't know. That's above my pay grade how to, Joe Rogan gets 90 million listeners. And so I don't know, but it is strange because he was a Bernie supporter.
He was an Obama supporter.
Exactly. So I don't know. That kind of gives me hope. Maybe it's a bit more malleable than we think it is. Maybe they're not lost for good. And we just kind of everyone needs to take a deep breath and kind of meet everyone where they are and try to be adults and have an adult conversation and hear everyone out about what they fear. We have to listen to each other and then decide later how we react. But if we just completely shut each other off, we're not going to get anywhere. It's harder to do. It's easier said than done. And I live in a bubble and I love my bubble. Thank God for my bubble. But I don't know. You got to get out of the bubble.
I don't think that I can be in the listening phase right now.
Right.
Because if I were to listen.
I haven't heard a you've said this entire time. I haven't listened. No, I haven't get it.
I feel like if I listened to a triple down Trumper and they started the shit, I think I would just look at them and go, fuck you, and turn around and walk off. That's where I am right now. And you're probably right. That's wrong. But if that's wrong, Billy, I don't want to be right. I'm fucking done. I don't want to talk to them. I want to play fuck you politics and quit playing integrity politics. I don't want to have a kumbaya with these people. I want to say fuck you for being a piece of shit.
I know. And I don't want a kumbaya. And we're not having a kumbaya anytime soon.
You're right. But this is why I can't run for public office. And this is why I need somebody who can do what you recommended. But I am so angry. I went to play pickleball last night with my friends. And one of my friends is a lesbian. She lives in kind of outside of Oklahoma City with her wife. And she's terrified. She is terrified. She's terrified because breeding grounds for MAGA are right here in this red state. They've already trotted out Bibles in public schools. They've trotted out 10 Commandments in classrooms. And, people are legally married here, minding their own business, paying taxes, doing all this boring shit that married people do. And all of a sudden, they're the enemy. And to the people that voted against my lesbian pickleball friends and our lesbian producer and you, I want to look at them in the face and say, fuck you, and turn around and walk off. And if that's wrong, then I don't think I want to be right.
I hear you. I'm with you too. And I'm a New Yorker. I'm gay. My instinct is always to say "fuck you," even to someone who agrees with me. I mean, I made a career out of saying "fuck you" and storming off when someone didn't agree with me. And so, I don't know. I think we need to take a deep breath and take it a day at a time. I guess. I don't know. I sound like some 2-bit therapist, but yeah, it's a tricky one. We're in this country together, for better or worse. It's not changing,
It's not changing.
I don't know. We can either all choose to live in our little bubble. But what starts to panic me a little bit, or it's not even panic, it's really sadness, is that when you see Trump's numbers ticking up in New York City.
Yes.
Which happened this time. I don't want to see things moving in that direction. That I know. So at the very least, we need to keep our bubbles secure because it's all I have. And I know you guys don't live in the bubble, which makes me admire you so much. I could never do it. I could never do it. I can barely go to Milwaukee.
Pumps, holiday season is upon us, and I'm constantly searching for that gift that sparks joy, wonder, delight, and where the receiver says, that is exactly what I wanted.
That is why I love Uncommon Goods. Uncommon Goods provides such an array of different choices made by small and independent artists and businesses. You can find the perfect thing for everyone, and they'll even personalize it.
Listener, Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out-of-the-ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize, from holiday host and hostess gifts to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from book lovers to die-hard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can find just anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/hadit. That's uncommongoods.com/hadit for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. I think one of the more frustrating components of being an adult is that you're in charge of handling all of your stuff. And that means if you have a weird rash on your leg or some sort of weird respiratory infection, you're like, what doctor do I go to? If your kids have the same thing, which doctor do they go to? That's why I'm so relieved that we use ZocDoc.
What I especially love about ZocDoc is it takes me to the correct specialist that takes my insurance, that's conveniently located, and I can see reviews from other patients, so I know I'm in the right place.
Listener, ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. We use ZocDoc, and you should too. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/I'veHadIt to find and instantly book top-rated doctors today. That's ZocDoc.com/I'veHadIt, ZocDoc.com/I'veHadIt. Let's allow our listener to hear you razzle-dazzle them with your humor, and we're going to play a game called Had It or Hit It. Oh my God. Welcome to Had It or Hit It. I would hit it. Had it. I hit it every day, sometimes twice a day. Had it or hit it Christmas cards.
I love Christmas. I'll say hit it. I like to receive a Christmas card. You're not getting one from me. That has nothing to do with religion. You're also not getting a Hanukkah card from me. I just am not a person who's going to think far enough in advance to send a card. We're in 2025. The fact that there are still envelopes and stamps is ridiculous. But I do love Christmas. I love the holidays. I was a Jewish kid in New York City. My parents let me, and we were not religious at all. They had to beg me to get bar mitzvahed. You know, I told them I didn't believe in God when I was 11 years old. but like, only got bar mitzvahed for the party, which had a Madonna / Broadway theme.
I love it.
So, because I couldn't decide which I liked more. That's a true story. But the one thing they wouldn't let me do, because we were technically Jewish, is have a Christmas tree and kind of do Christmas. And so I completely fetishize it now as an adult. I go to the Radio City Christmas Spectacular. I went by myself a few years ago. I mean, that's scary. I'm a grown man, right? And so I love Christmas, but I'm not going to do cars just because logistically it's too much work.
Okay, Billy, I have a question for you. How do you feel about Christmas decorations up before Thanksgiving?
I love a Christmas decoration. Because I'm doing so much press this year for Mufasa, I'm going to be traveling around. I don't think I can have a Christmas tree because I won't be here. And I'm actually legitimately sad about it. I think this year especially, people are so exhausted and stressed and tired. I love looking at a Christmas tree sparkling at night, right? And I don't believe in anything that it represents religiously, but I like a tree with lights on it. And I like ornaments and presents. So if you want to put it up because it makes you feel better, do it. I mean, if people can celebrate Halloween in fucking September now.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Grown adults worrying about their Halloween costume on August 26th. Grow up. Grow up.
Totally agree.
Now people say, oh, it's September 1st. It's spooky season. I'm like, not if you have a brain and an education, okay? It's spooky season starts in September. So if spooky season can start in September, Christmas can start early November, especially this year.
I'm totally with you on the Christmas stuff. I'm a total atheist, but I love to celebrate my favorite fictional character birthday boy. I put up 2 big trees in my house. My outside of my house is lit up like an intercontinental ballistic missile.
Oh my God, I wish I could see it.
I'll send you photos. I mean, I go all in. Okay, next up.
I love it.
Had it or hit it, daylight savings.
Had it. I fucking hate daylight savings time. Okay. To the point where I recently did some research. I tried to Google why we have it, and I'll get into that in a second. But here's the thing. It's beautiful and all, but a little goes a long way with me when it comes to seeing the moon. Okay. If I get a quick glimpse of it at 9:30 or 10 p.m., that's fine. That's lovely. I don't need to see your fucking moon ass at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's depressing to me. Okay. I'm someone I'm not a morning person. My brain doesn't start to click on until like 1 p.m. And so if the sun goes down at 4, like it's so depressing to me. It's like I don't have a day. You know, it's crazy. It makes me a little depressed, you know, and I like the twinkling lights at night. But again, I don't need it in the afternoon. The moon needs to stand down. Stand down, okay, along with the Proud Boys. And so I'm so, and by the way, now I will cop to something because this is what I mean by listening, admitting
Fuck
to
you
our own
for
bias,
listening. No, I'm kidding.
admitting to our own biases. And by the way, I hope the moon is listening right now. The moon probably voted for like Jill Stein or some crazy shit, by the way. But I will say, I kind of had heard through the grapevine that the reason we had daylight savings time was because farmers wanted it. So from the research that I did, that's not true. That's actually a myth. And it was about kind of making things making more time in the morning to make things more productive for people. And it was about energy conservation and all different kinds of things. And it turns out farmers don't give a shit about daylight savings time. And I think they're just as inconvenienced by it as anyone else. So I do want to apologize to farmers, most of whom probably have always voted against my civil rights, for the assumptions I made about daylight savings time.
I always thought that too. I love daylight savings because I like to go to bed super early. So, I mean, I like to crawl in bed about 6 p.m. and it's
Right.
dark out. I'm so happy.
I'm with Pumps. I'm a total morning person, completely annoying. I
Oh.
launch my Wordle results, connections results, New York Times crossword puzzle. I want that timestamp on there around 5 a.m. So it's just a little mini flex to my friend group, my tennis and
We're
pickleball
different.
group.
We're different. I like when the sun is like. I love when the sun's out at like 8 p.m. I'm like, do we live in the Netherlands? Like, where are we right
I
now?
like it when the sun's out at 8 p.m. when I'm not in Oklahoma. When I'm in other places,
Right.
I like to see the place for a very long time. But when you live in Oklahoma, when daylight saving happens, I can get home from work around 5:30 and put on my pajamas, cuddle up with my French bulldogs, and I just don't feel like that much of a loser as I would if
You're not
it were,
missing.
if it were like 6 p.m. and I was doing that. But when I'm traveling, I'm like, y'all have a late dinner?
Yeah.
Why is the sun going down so early? Yeah.
We didn't eat dinner till 8 o'clock in Italy. We were late nighters.
We burn the midnight oil.
Oh, this is the thing. What I mean, like growing up in New York gave me a strange perspective because I'm such a night owl. You know, in New York on a Tuesday, you have dinner at 10 p.m. You know, like it's just its own world. And so, and I love, I mean, I'm a night owl. I love nightlife. So it's not like I want more daylight for that reason, but I just not have, I know the sun going down is so depressing to me. Like, I just don't want it to be pitch black at 4 p.m. But if it works for you guys, great. You know, everything I have to do is based around what people in Oklahoma want now. So the sun should be too.
Pipe down, George Michael. Okay, next up. Had it or hit it eating on a first date?
Had it. I don't like eating on a first date. I'm single. I go on dates. I just think people, I know this is like a very traditional thing. So the first thing is, oh, what do you want? What are you going to do on a first date? Let's go to eat. I don't want to watch someone eating, like shoveling food in their mouth on a first date and having them watch me shovel food in my mouth and like I'm spitting and talking. It's so not sexy to me. Like, and I know that maybe people disagree with me, but I just don't want to see it. Like, I don't want people like shoveling food in their mouth. What's supposed to be like a sexy kind of like getting to know you vibe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I like just going for a drink. You know, I don't want to be like cutting lettuce, like cutting like a slab of meat and like eating a salad and like there's like cheese and I don't know, like Italian dressing. I just don't want it. Like,
I agree.
I want to keep it like simple and chic and sexy on a first date. And if we like each other and we want to go out more, then we can watch each other be disgusting while eating. You know, that's how I feel about it.
Oh,
I
that's
agree.
funny.
I think we should build to eating together. I
Right.
think it's kind of intimate. I think you should build to that. I think I would rather have sex with somebody on a first date than eat with
100%.
them on a first date.
Oh, I was just going to say, I will blow a stranger within 5 minutes. But I don't want to see you eating a Caesar salad with anchovies in front of me, like shoveling that with that smell. Okay, I will literally rim someone that I just met. Okay, but I don't want to see them pouring Parmesan cheese, extra Parmesan cheese on a salad on the first date. I think that could be vile. That's disgusting, but I will lick your asshole. I will. Almost immediately upon entrance. But I don't want to see you eating. Sex on a first date, and I will say this because we're gay, and I know I've listened to you guys. You talk to a lot of gay guys about Grindr, so I know you're all about it. But there is something about Grindr about hooking up first, and I don't know if it's. In a way, it's not ideal, and I get that. You want to get to know the person, but it's nice to know that you have or don't have sexual compatibility and chemistry before you start to like each other as people. Because if you're on if you get to really like someone and you like their personality, and then you finally jump into bed and it's not quite there, that's such a disappointment, but it's just not going to work. And now you've wasted everyone's time and your own time. So I'd rather go straight to a rim job and save the visit for later.
I completely agree with you. I dated this guy in college. I really liked him. We built up about 2-3 weeks before we did the deed. We did the deed. He had this really bizarre, crooked dick. and that was that was the end of it for me. I couldn't get past the crooked penis. I could not get past it. And I really liked him. He was funny. He was liberal. He wasn't religious. It was like meeting an exotic person in this hellscape that is Oklahoma.
Right.
He was fantastic. And he had this crooked dick. And I couldn't get past it. So I had to break up with him.
I totally get liberal with a crooked dick. He should have a show on Crooked Media. Called Crooked Dicks. That would be good. Like a liberal white guy in Oklahoma on Crooked Media.
Yeah. He could be the next Joe Rogan.
By the way, I'll take what we can get. If it's a crooked dick is going to win the next election, I'll take it.
Okay. Had it or hit it podcasts.
Hit it. Hit it, I think. I love a podcast. They say we have no more movie stars left, but we have podcast stars. That's what we have.
You're talking to two of them right here.
I sure as fuck am. Right? And so, I think that, I love a podcast. I listen to podcasts. I find it comforting and educational. And I think that's great. There really isn't a movie star, and there's very few movie stars left who can draw someone to the box office immediately, no matter what they're in. But I will listen to fucking anything that you guys do or Ezra Klein does. Literally. I mean, I am out there Googling, like other people are like, Jonathan Bailey so hot, Paul Mescal so hot. I am literally Googling shirtless photos of Ezra Klein.
I love Ezra Klein.
That's my dream, man. I was devastated to find out that he was straight. I assumed he was gay. He's straight and married and living with a wonderful woman and children in Brooklyn, because of course he is. But like these are the new stars. These are our friends. We don't have late night. We have late night talk shows, and I love those guys, and I know all those guys, and they're great, but they don't take up the same relevance, within the cultural conversation that they did when I was growing up, when you had Johnny Carson and Letterman.
Right.
They just don't. They're still there and they're great, but everything is so much more niche now. And I think podcast hosts have come and sort of taken up that space in a way. In terms of having control over the cultural conversation. And so I love a podcast.
Okay, last one. Had it or hit it, lesbians.
Oh, hit it every time. I mean, not literally. They don't want that, and I don't want that. but I love lesbians. We did a famous Billy on the Street segment called "Let's Go Lesbians, Let's Go," where I'm running around with lesbians, and I absolutely love lesbians. And I think lesbians don't get the attention they deserve.
I agree.
You know why? Because they're not out there hungry for attention like fucking gays like me on social media, right? Or like even like straight guys like showing off their like ripped bodies and all these like wellness folks. Like lesbians just keep to themselves. They put their heads down. They do the fucking work.
Yeah.
Okay. And not to make this as depressing as humanly possible, but like when gay men could not fend for themselves as much because we were literally dying during the AIDS crisis, it was lesbians who, if you don't know the history, gay men and lesbians were only kind of sort of united before the AIDS crisis. I mean, they were in theory, but they were very separate in terms of how they lived their lives. It wasn't quite a united front. And the AIDS crisis turned it into a much more united front. And that's because lesbians helped us survive. They took care of us. They fought our political battles. They helped fight our health battles. And so now there's a long history of lesbians and gay men being united politically and socially. And I absolutely love a lesbian. Give me a lesbian to get the job done any day of the week.
Totally agree.
I completely agree. Okay, tell our listener about Mufasa.
I'm super excited about this.
Tell us about this.
I can't think of a better segue from the AIDS crisis to Mufasa.
Hey, you know what? That's why podcasters like us are the big stars now.
Right.
All right.
Those transitions are
you just saw
seamless.
those transitions. You can't coach that. You can't teach that.
No, Tom Snyder is rolling over in his grave right now. But Yes, I do the voice of Timon in the new Disney holiday spectacular called Mufasa the Lion King. I did the voice of Timon with Seth Rogen as Pumbaa in the 2019 Lion King that Jon Favreau directed. And now this is really exciting because this is not a remake. It's an entirely new story, and it tells the origin story of Mufasa. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I just saw the movie for the first time. I honestly had no idea what to expect. Now, it is directed by Barry Jenkins, who won the Oscar for Moonlight, and is obviously a brilliant filmmaker, but this is a very different type of movie. The scale of this movie is very different than what he's done before. I didn't know what to expect. And with these movies, you record them so far in advance that I literally forget what the movie is by the time I see it, because these animated films take such a long time to make. And I sat down in a screening room. They had me watch it with a security guard alone on the Disney lot, right? Because they don't want me to film any of it or whatever. And it is so good. For real. And I was blown away. I had forgotten all my own lines, and Seth Rogen and I, we improvise a lot. And so who even remembers what we did in the studio? And we certainly don't know what's going to make it into the movie. And I was just talking with Seth a couple of days ago doing press for the movie, and he was saying the same thing. Like, he had no idea what to expect, and we were both blown away. It is truly a great adventure. I think kids are going to flip over it. There are so many amazing action adventure sequences that honestly, I was on the edge of my seat. They're in waterfalls, and they're in the snow, and they're underwater. It's amazing, truly.
Oh, I'm excited. I've been seeing that coming out, and I was like, I definitely want to see that because I loved The Lion King. I loved it on Broadway. I loved the movie. Loved everything about it. So I'm excited.
I can't wait to see it. Billy, I feel like I want to be best friends.
I know. I want to be best friends
we went through a lot
too.
in this hour, and I feel like with the exception of my morning person and you being a night person, I feel like we could be a great throuple.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love that. I would love that. You guys can strap it on, do what you need to do. We'll figure it out. I love that. And again, I love you guys. You guys are fucking ballsy. And I mean that in the gender neutral way. And I so appreciate you. I'll be honest, it was only like a few months ago when someone said, do you listen to these ladies on I've Had It? And I'll there's so much out there.
Yeah.
And I hadn't, right? And they said, oh, you would love them. And I said, oh, the last thing I need is another fucking podcast, right? And so I started listening, and I could not believe it. And I was literally like on like the Stepmaster at the gym, listening to you guys, like instead of the usual like dance mute, like Mariah Carey remixes I usually listen to like pump me up. And you guys were pumping me up. You were like, fuck all these Republican bitches in our comments who think we're going to be their friends. I was snapping my fingers on the Stepmaster, like the biggest cliche of like the wacky gay neighbor on a sitcom you don't want to watch. Like I love it. Thank you so much for doing what you do.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on, and we're going to keep fighting the good fight.
Yes, and we want to have you on again for sure.
Yes, for sure. Billy Eichner, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks, Billy.
Bye.
Bye. He could not be a bigger doll.
And he's a great podcast guest.
I loved him. Loved him.
It makes me feel better as we've done some episodes since Trump won. And we continue to build on the community that we've made. And you see that there are these smart, talented, empathetic, yet tough as nails people out in this world, like Billy and others, that we have to keep fighting this fight. We have to be like, fuck you. We're going to keep fighting for people, whether you like it or not. God damn it, you triple down Trump supporter, you piece of shit. I'm still going to fight for you, even though you can't fight for yourself. Fuck you. You can thank me later. Like, that's the kind of like, we're going to help you, but fuck you for getting us in this position. But we can't abandon our cause to want to fight for people.
That's right.
And fight for this country.
And I think it sounds cliche, but I mean, coming together as a community is probably what's going to get us through. Honestly.
It's the only thing that'll get us
And laughing and being able to be normal in a world that's not normal.
That's right. And there's one thing that you did not mention that I think is the most important component to getting through this. What is our blue Wing Talk say?
After Billy, it says, caw-caw!
That's what I'm saying, fucking patriots and gay-triots, they-triots. Let's go. We will see you when, pumps.
We'll see you next Tuesday and Thursday.
I'll tell you what I've had it with. Let's hear it. I've had it with that.
Listen up, patriots, gay-triots, and they-triots. We have a new podcast that has dropped. It's called iHip News. It's Monday through Friday, every day, 15 to 20-minute hot takes on the political landscape of the United States of America, always served with a side of petty grievances.
We are on all the available platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever you get your podcasts, and YouTube.
Please go rate, subscribe, and review so that we will chart upwards with America's greatest legal mind. Pumps, what does an eagle say?
Caw-caw!
A little bit more enthusiasm.
Caw-caw!
That's it. That's
Caw-caw!
the patriotism that this country needs right there.